Year 3, English Lesson 18, Ottoline and the Yellow Cat. Our objective today is to write the resolution and the ending to a mystery story. First of all, you'll need to look back over your story plan and your writing from the last 2 lessons. This is to recap your story so far. Think about what the problem is that needs to be resolved and how will you tie up those loose ends. But first, let's look at how we can improve our writing. Let's look at different sentence types. This is a short sentence. A light flicked on. It's sometimes used to create tension in the story. Can you write an example of a short sentence that you can use in your story? This is an example of a long sentence. It's used to add more detail to the story. She was about to try for the window when half a dozen home-cooked custard pies sailed through the air towards her and an incredibly large bear jumped out of the neatly made bed. Can you create a long sentence that you can use in your story? This type of sentence is an exclamation. Mrs. Jansen-Smith, yelled the yellow cat. This is to show excitement or shouting. Can you write a sentence that you can use in your story using an exclamation? This is an open sentence with ellipsis. She sneaked over to the cupboard and slowly opened it. These sentences are used to create a mystery or suspense. Can you think of a sentence that you can use in your story that will use an ellipsis? This type of sentence is a question. It needs a question mark on the end. Can I help you? We use these types of questions when someone is asking a question. In your story, you might also need to add speech marks around what is being spoken. Can you write a sentence that you can use in your story? This type of sentence is called a command. Make sure the boys don't stay up too late. It's used to give orders or to tell someone what to do. Once again, can you write an example that you might use in your story? Now let's look at improving our writing with our sentence openings. An adverbial starter is good for creating a sentence to tell us when or where something is happening. For example, suddenly, a moment later. Can you just jot down 2 or 3 adverbial starters that you can use in your story? A how starter. With one gloved paw. This tells us how something is happening. Can you write an example of a how starter that you can use in your story? An ing starter. Opening the door. Can you think of any more examples of words that end with an ing? It could be closing, questioning, clambering, running. Can you think of a sentence that you might use in your story and write it down? Here's my resolution and ending to my mystery story. See if you can spot my sentence types and sentence openings. With a careful plan in his head, Mr. Monroe returned to Yellow Rabbit. Ottoline was busy putting the finishing touches to her marvellous cake and her even more marvellous plan. As the cats in Building 55 settled down for a good night's sleep, Yellow Rabbit ordered them, "Do not wake up during the night. I want no peeking with those beady eyes." Within minutes they were sound asleep, and Yellow Rabbit picked up his spatter spoon and placed it in his bag. Slowly and quietly he left the building. Cautiously Mr. Monroe opened his eyes. All was clear. He crept over to the phone and called Ottoline. "He's on his way. I'll call Mary Berry to collect him." Yellow Rabbit arrived at Ottoline's apartment. Tiptoeing towards the kitchen, the marvellous cake sat on the table. He took out his spatter spoon and held it high over his head. Just as he was about to bring it down on the cake, he heard a voice. "What on earth are you doing?" He turned to see Bear with a net above his head. He quickly swiped at Yellow Rabbit and trapped him in the net. Within minutes, Mr. Monroe arrived with Mary Berry. "Why have you been destroying cakes?" asked Mary. "When I was a young rabbit, my mum never made a cake for my birthday. I didn't want anyone else to have one," replied Yellow Rabbit. "I'm so sorry." Mary Berry decided to take Yellow Rabbit back to her baking school and teach him how to make a cake for himself. The next morning, looking at each other across the table at breakfast, Ottoline, Mr. Monroe and Bear knew what each other was thinking. Another case solved. For now. Your task today is to write the resolution and ending to your story. Remember to orally rehearse sentences first before you write them down, and use the correct order of the events in your story. The challenge today is to use powerful verbs and a range of sentence structures, like sentence types and sentence openers. Don't forget those connectives too. Great work today. I can't wait to read those story endings. Don't forget to email them and I can give you some dojos. And remember, stay alert. Bye for now.